Today I've got a project that's going to make use of a lot of cute paper, and I hope it doesn't get too overwhelming with the different amounts of paper that we're going to cut out and use. I'm going to include the dimensions all through this, but the cute little item that we're making is based on this little folder that I made several years ago. I got the idea from a person, and I cannot remember. I've tried to go back and look to see who it was who gave me the initial inspiration to make this, and I couldn't find it, but hopefully I'll be able to come upon it again, and I'll be able to tag her. But from this, we are going to make another one today using this paper for all of our decorating. So here, let's jump in and get started. We're going to start off with a 12 by 12 sheet of paper. I'm using a textured type piece of paper. In fact, on this piece of paper that I'm using, one side is solid and the other side has a textured feel to it. That is not required, but I think it's just something about the feel of this project and the way the folders are done. I like the thickness and the texture that we get, and I'm going to put that on the outside of my book. So if you can grab up one of those, you can find those, I know, at scrapbook stores, Hobby Lobby, Michael's. Usually the single sheets of paper is where you can find these. Sometimes you can find them in packs and stuff, but that's what we're going for. And then you're also going to need two 8.5 by 11s. We're going to end up trimming all this, and I want a little bit darker shade. So this is more of the lighter blue, and then we're going to pick up on the darker blue and use that. And then of course some patterned paper. And in today's piece, we're going to use Secret Garden. And this is a pack by Cardstock. It was in a recent Echo Park bi-monthly kit, the Secret Garden. So I know I have the 12 by 12 paper, 6 by 6, and then a couple of other embellishments that we can use. So these are the things that I'm using to get started with, and now I'll show you how we'll trim some pieces of paper. We're going to start with our 12 by 12 sheet of paper, and we're going to trim it to 11.5 by 8. So we're not taking a lot off, and in fact I'm going to use this right side of my trimmer to take 1/2 inch off, because this is a 12-inch sheet of paper and I want to trim it down to 11.5. So I'm just going to take off this 1/2 inch. Now I should have an 11.5 inch sheet of paper, but we want to do that by 8. So I'm going to turn this to the side, and we could just trim off the 4 because it is a 12-inch sheet of paper. So if we trim off 4, that leaves us with 8. So this is an 8 by 11.5 inch sheet of paper. We want to score this paper in half on the 11.5 inch side, so we're going to score it at 5.75. I had mentioned I want to use this textured piece on my back, on the front cover. So let's see, we'll end up putting our score line here because we're going to be folding this way. So at 5.75, so, or 5 3/4, we're going to put our score line. That's right here, and I'm using my scoring blade, and I'm just giving it a nice score. And we can fold this in half, and I'm going to use my bone folder, grab that, and give it a nice fold. And we're going to set this aside and work with our other papers also. Our two darker shades are 8.5 by 11 inch sheets of regular cardstock, but we're going to trim these down to 9.5 by 7.75. So let's first we'll trim off the 9.5 on the 11 inch side. So I'm going to go out to 9.5. And we'll trim that off by 7.75. 7 3/4. Oops. And that's going to give us our sheet. Let me trim off one more of those. Now for both of these sheets, on the 9.5 side, I want to score at 5.5. So I'm going to put that in my score, and we want to make sure we're scoring. Score. And we'll probably do that on this side. And let's do the same thing for this second piece of cardstock. Score at 5.5. So we have that for both of these sheets. Take these pieces of cardstock and let's go ahead and we'll fold those on the score lines that we have. Start off with 2 pieces of paper that are 5 1/4 by 7 1/2. And we're going to end up putting these on the left-hand side of the one piece and the right-hand side of the other. You can use your tape for this, or you can use glue. I think I'm going to go with my Tombow liquid glue. I like this paper also because it is also thicker, and it's not that you have to use thicker paper, but there's just a nice feel that you're gonna get when you do this project with that. So let's just place those and we'll give them a little bit of time to dry. And you've got a little bit of a border around these papers. I've got 2 more sheets of decorative paper that are cut at 3 3/4 by 7 1/2, and we're going to place those here on the opposite side of where we have put our other sheet. So I'm going to glue those on as well now. Such pretty paper is on the other side, I know, but I kind of wanted to go with a solid opposite. I hate covering up this pretty paper, but hopefully I've got enough left that I can use it somewhere else. So we're just going to line that up. And we'll finish this piece right here. I'm giving those some time to dry, and now I'm back to looking at my front cover, the larger sheet, and I've cut another piece of decorative paper 5 1/2 by 7 3/4, and I'm going to use this on the front of my larger sheet. So I want to look at gluing this on. I'm not placing anything on the back cover. I'm just going to have this pretty blue showing, but we are going to have this pretty paper that we're going to put on the front. And I'm going to push that up a little bit, and this should fit very nicely on that right side of our page. And I always like to put something on top to let it dry flat and just give it a good time to adhere. Now I've also taken another piece of this textured cardstock, and I've cut 2 pieces that are 5 by 6 1/2 out of those. And then I've got some decorative paper that's going to fit on those that are 4 1/2 by 6. Now I'm going to show you, these are actually going to be cards that we're going to use, and depending on how you want the direction of your paper. I've chosen to do mine in this direction. I'm going to have a tabbed piece over here because it's going to fit in our book this way, and I'm going to pull it out like this. Now you may choose that you would rather have your paper turned this way to match the tab, but it's up to you. I'm going to go with this direction, but I need to glue these on as well. And again, I'm watching for the texture part. For this case, I'm going to put the texture on the direction where I am putting my paper, because this is a note card that somebody can write on this side. Now, if you've got texture on both sides, you may want to put a piece of cardstock, white, whatever, or cream, whatever color you want to use on this side. But for me, I'm going to go with this. Before we do the gluing though, I had mentioned the tabs. First time I made this project, I had forgotten this, and I glued this down first, and then I forgot that the tabs, and you can choose how to do this. I have this well-tailed tab punch. Sometimes, and I've also got a die. You may want to use that. I have punched out these two tabs, and what happens is we fold this in half. Use my bone folder, and there's two different ways we can do this. I want you to have the option. So if you went ahead and glued on your paper and then put the tab on here, I'm going to go about in the middle, your tab's going to cover your paper, and that's okay. Or you can choose to do this first and put the tab under the paper. Actually, when I'm looking at it, I think I sort of like having the tab on top. So I am going to go ahead, glue my paper down, and then I'm going to put the tabs on. So one card, the tab is going to be on the right-hand side because we're going to pull it out from that right side, and we haven't even gotten to that part yet, that making the folders, but trust me on that. Then I'm going to put this right here. So I need to put glue all over this. Got a little bit on my book, that's okay. This is an older textbook of mine, but it's really sturdy and heavy. Actually, I'm going to pull that out just a little bit because I want the tab to show through. Get that glue off there. I may need to get my glue sheet out, and I think I will. And I'm also going to place this under my book as well. This is the second little note card that we're going to use. And as I glue this decorative paper on here, it will then be time to do the tab. But like I had shortly mentioned before, I want to do the tab now on the left-hand side. I think this paper is so cute with all these books. I love book paper, book charms. This is so cute. Okay, here is my little tab. Oops, I almost folded it the wrong way. And I'm gonna put the glue. And on the left-hand side, about in the middle, and press that down. Let's start building this up a little bit. So here's our larger folder, and we have the front side glued. Still got some of these things over here drying. Now I'm going to take our 2 pieces that we have attached with the fold here. We're still going to do something on this side, but on the larger side here that has more of the designed paper, we are going to attach now these 2 pieces to the inside covers of our little folder here. But we're going to make little pockets, places for our pockets. So taking the piece that we have, the longer piece, I have a 1 3/4 inch die, or 1 3/4 inch circle punch. I'm going to punch about halfway a little tab here. And we're going to be able to place our cards that we just made inside into this, but we're going to have to make the little pocket. So I only want to place glue around 3 of the sides. So we're going to do this for both of the cards. Let's work on this left-hand side first. So like I said, I'm only placing glue on 3 sides. And we have our tab punch right there. No glue here yet. We're going to put something there in a minute. And now place this in the center of this page. And I'm probably going to place my book or my blocks down and give this some time to dry in just a moment after we do the same thing to the right hand side. So again, I'm going to take my punch and about halfway, that's really thick paper now, but I love the feel of that, especially when everything gets glued, dried. And we're going to do the glue on the 3 sides, up at the fold line, and then along the bottom. Oops. I like to fold that closed. And center that and place it. My little punch piece has flown into the air and gotten right there. Let me move this. Here we go. And now this is in place, and I'm going to put my book on top. We've still got some more decorative paper that we want to use. So I've got 2 sheets of paper that are cut at 4 1/4 by 3 3/4. And I'm doing these in the direction here because we're going to have some tabbed pockets coming that way. So I've chosen to do my paper this direction here. These smaller ones are 4 1/4 by 3 3/4. So we're going to end up putting those here, but before we do that, I'll also want to use my same punch. And let's make some little notches. About halfway, we're just eyeballing it. And we're going to have some cards for each of these as well. But for now, let's just punch the little notches out. And we're going to get ready. I'm not adding any other paper or anything there. I'm just going to glue on the 3 sides and place those down. So let's go ahead with our glue. And again, we're going to do the glue on the 3 sides here. And this will still give me some time. I'm probably going to go, well, I still want a border here. I don't want to go all the way down to the bottom here because we are going to need room to fold. It just makes it easier to fold. I decided to go with 2 of the more decorative papers on the bottom and then a little bit more of the solid on the top. Got some of that glue along the edge. just line that up. And then I'm going to place a book or my blocks on to allow those time to dry as well. And I'm going to repeat this for the right hand side. We're almost ready for the fun part of filling up all these pockets. Now let's set this to dry. Now I've got a few more pieces of paper, so I'm cutting out 2 3 by 3.5 cards. And so I've got those that are going to go in these lower pockets. And I've also taken some little tabs from the paper that I used for the overall folder. And I'm going to put those on these cards as well. So when they, come out, we're going to place those tabs right about the middle. Hold those down. And these will go on the cards here. And we're going to place those in the envelope. Put a few little blocks on that to hold in place. Put some more glue here. It's a lot of little cards and paper. This is a great project if you have a new pack that you want to use, or even if you have scraps that you want to pull together. But once you have it, it's going to make a great little addition by itself, or if you want to add it to a bigger project. I'm going to keep the edges because I have not really rounded anything, but I've got that. And then I've got 2 little pieces that are 2 by 3.5, and I'm going to turn these into little tags. I have a tab punch that's just going to punch out. It fits the 2 inches right here, and I like to look on the opposite side, and it will punch that out and make a little tab. You can see the little hole right there. So let's do the same thing here for this paper. Slide it in. I may be a little bit over the 2 inches. Punch that. And there's our tab. I like this because it's my double-sided paper. And I've got that ready. Okay, I'm going to use these vellum sheets because, number one, I don't want to cover up our pretty paper as very much, but I want to have these tuck spots. So these I've cut 2 5 1/4 by 2 3/4. And then also 2 that are 7.5 by 2.5. Now I just use my regular glue for this. And like we've done with our other pockets, we're just going to apply the glue on 3 sides. And I don't think I'm going to put any notches or anything on this paper. We'll just have the plain edge, cut straight edge. And we just want to line that up. It should fit almost perfectly. And just right along the paper. And I'm going to put my blocks down. And then here on the longer piece, I'm going to put it, oops, let me get you so that you can see a little bit better. I'm going to put this one right here. And this will just give us another slot to store any little papers, notes, anything that you want to add to this little memory folder. I'm going to pull it down just a tidge. Put that in place. And I'm gonna let this dry first, and then I will complete the other side the exact same way. So I've given my folder a little bit of time to dry, and now let's take some of these things that we've made and then the cut aparts that came with the different scrapbooking papers that I've used, and let's fill it up in our folder. So we start off here with our folder. I don't have anything on the back, but it's this textured feel. I love the thickness of it. I'm gonna open it up, and you can see here I have the vellum. And the first item that we wanted to place in, which I had already kind of played around with, but that's putting our giant, or putting in our larger note card in there. And it's got the tab that's gonna hang out of the side, and I love that. I like to have little pieces that come out. And then let's see, inside we've got our two little pockets right here. And I've just cut apart some pieces from the papers here. I've got a really big piece that I thought would go really well here, and then you can just stack some other things inside. I love that it's, you know, got the pretty paper on the other side of the cards, that sort of thing. And there's also plenty more to cut out, but I'm just gonna put some of these little things in. I've got some other little pieces I wanted to pull in. Let's see, put these little cards here. I love how using the vellum you can see through and see all these little pretty pieces. When we open into the center, we've got these pockets here, and I had made these little tags that will fit here in the top. Using the little punch, you can cut those out by hand as well. And then I've got the little cards with the tab, and you can add paper on the back, or either just write on the back of the paper there. And again, they've got the little tabs that are gonna poke through on the edges. And then we go to our back page. Let's go ahead and put in our card here. I love the big chunkiness of these cards. That's one thing that I think is so neat and much easier to get in now after we've worked through. Look at all the different colors of things. And I'm just gonna stack these things in here. I love all the little cut aparts that we can use. And I just think it's pretty to look at these things. It's also fun to add things, add pictures on the back, all sorts of things. I've got plenty of little leftovers, and there it closes in the back. But this is how it looks now with these pieces. I've got, you know, there's a thickness there. I like that I can use this as it is right here, or if I want to add this into another journal or something and tuck it in, it's small enough to do that, but yet it has its own purpose. I think that's great, like I said, for pictures, but lots of notes, keeping those memories and writing things down. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this today, and hopefully you've been able to make your own little folder, and I hope that you enjoy it and keep all your memories and fun stuff and using plenty of your paper.